be on the topic Data Center Strategy Powering a Multi-Tier and Scalable Data Center. And for this, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Anil Nama, who is the CIO at 𝗘𝗱𝗏𝗏 and 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 services. Giving a brief introduction, Anil Nama has been instrumental in 𝗘𝗱𝗏𝗏 data centers growth from a new entrant in Indian IDC to the latest and to the largest rated 4 on date. He has also been part of 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 incubation, growth and presence in 22 nations with Gartner Cloud 𝗊𝗶 recognition. Today as CIO, HLC member for 𝗘𝗱𝗏𝗏 and 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏, he is responsible for SCM, product innovation and business strategy with a strong focus on evolving innovative solutions for a vertical specific and multi-platform requirement. This includes AIOps, service augmentation, hybrid cloud capability, information assurance and user experience. With this, please welcome Mr. Anil with a huge round of applause.
So, even though I have to show you certain controller slides, that is for corporate, but the narration is slightly different. So, this is what we are in a nutshell. Leave the data center aside, the center portion. We have now become a telco provider. We are a hoster of telco POPs. We are putting in edge and NLDs. And of course, you heard that we have also started to give all types of services. So, my friend Rahul, when he was speaking, he touched upon two things, expectations and complexities. In my topic, I want to cover what is this hyper-convergence all about. And instead of looking at it from a SaaS angle, if we look at it from a bottom angle, how does it look like? So with this context, this has been our roller coaster journey. 𝗘𝗱𝗏𝗏 was a startup, 2008 when I joined from Airtel. Turnover 78 lakhs. Today, of course, we are a 3,000 plus crore group. But if you see this journey, we are known as data centers. We launched DR on demand. We have largest DC. We have launched CDNs, public cloud. So this whole paradigm of a external colo has over the years evolved into a stack. And it's not there only with the data center. Let's take our OEM. For example, let's take HP or Dell. They all come out with likes of Apex, Green Lakes, where they give you a total OpEx model for your own on-prem. And they started to automate and consume it. From the other side, the likes of AWS or a software provider like Azure have gone down into the infrastructure to give a total stack. So basically, each of us, or the requirement from the market to reduce the complexity, is to reduce that system integration time that we used to use in CLI, that we used to use in script, and give a ready-made system that takes lesser time to deploy, lesser complex to manage. And this has been our journey. Similarly would be your journeys in the room. People who have been using SAP would have started with ECC, R4, moved on to ECC 6, now looking either at SOH or HANA, and then moving on to their platforms like Ariba, etc., etc. So that's a software journey that you have. So each one of us has been evidencing this. From a pure colocation perspective, and I want to just compare my telco days in Airtel to what is happening now. And I don't only represent 𝗘𝗱𝗏𝗏 now. Let's say I can talk about NetMagic, I can talk about 𝗓𝗡, each one of us. When I left telco, when I started my telco journey, our server rooms were like 10 racks, 20 racks. At 30 racks, it was supposed to be an MSS, which means it could control a total state. When I reached out in Airtel, as we matured into a data factory, we were talking 50 racks, 100 racks, maximum was 400 racks. When you today look at the data centers, and people are talking about DC campuses, we are talking in one campus 20,000 racks, 30,000 racks. So each year, if you see the consumption of this space for safekeeping whether you call it as data or server, is increasing exponentially. And it is not that we have not good spaces in our office. So there are certain factors which are controlling it. Similarly, as rightly pointed out, the ISP ecosystem has also evolved. We had the UPIs coming in, we had the NEFTs coming in, no longer going to branches and all, no longer hearing that boss, your check will be processed tomorrow, your demand draft will come day after tomorrow, everything is in a jiffy. Now they have started with the second level of people like PayTMs and all able to offer phone to phone fund transfers. So finance has improved. On the other side, if we go back to the COVID times, the government has improved. The direct debit that they have done has been recognized worldwide as one of the best initiatives, including of AI, because they could from that population find out which are the needy people, and they gave money only there, and it did not roll out into a standard Indian controversy of a Colgate or a chopper scam. I mean, a lot of money transferred, if you understand, in those 24 months, but till date we don't have a scam. So that essentially means somebody processed some data and had all the audit trails or records, like the way security guys say, to make it possible. And how was it done? The constituents were there in their home. So one way or the other way, an internet exchange or the ISPs were playing in between. The third thing to look at it is, who are the people who are moving the IT from in-house to out-house? Whether you, rightly said, cloud adoption can be a private cloud, hybrid cloud, public cloud. But if you see the top companies, the top organizations have adopted this bandwagon, and they are moving their setups out. Sorry, I don't want to cover this. So this is how it happens. If you come to Mumbai, next door to us, 300-400 meters, you will find NetMagic. A kilometer before us, you will find SIFI, and another 8 kilometers ahead of us, you will find Yota. 4 guys I can name immediately. We are all there in Navi Mumbai. So what's happening is, as you consume these many large racks, you also need to move the content. So your telco connectivity is now changing into fibers. So for example, if I say Control S Navi Mumbai facility now, overall telco consumption in terms of internet, MPLS, if you put all that together, is more than 29 terabit. A 29 terabit is not the capacity of a Airtel switching center maybe for Delhi. Now when that kind of load starts to come in, what happens? You have microseconds difference. So let us say true hybrid. I keep something in my DC, I take a Cloud Connect, Azure, AWS, I have something on Azure and AWS. The problem that is there is, this circuit is 30 ms. If I move any load from an end user, there will be a perceptible notice of drop in services. And if that user is unknown, that he is a consumer of my services, then it becomes a no-go. So why are all the large companies as well as the hyperscalers going inside the large DC footprint is so that they are microseconds away. We had earlier these networks were known as HFT networks, high frequency trading networks in stock exchanges. So typically you are not more than 3 ms distance, or the 3 ms is fixed for everybody, whether you are sitting next to exchange or whether you are a kilometer away. Similar such concept is coming out in these DC campuses, and they are getting interconnected. From a controller's perspective, we build the buildings. I don't build the fiber, I don't give the content, I am not the cloud player, right? But all of them cohabit side by side, just so that the hybrid dream of scalability can be achieved. In India, it has started in the last 2 years. From my sector, DC sector, what I can say is from between 20 to 2024, in these 5 years, Indian data center market will grow 5x, 500%. So therefore, this demand is not pushed by either a data center provider, it's evolved on the requirements of these new architectures. And you can find many such parks planned. What has the extent the data center has gone into? So typically, if you see in India, you have power grid and other large lines. You have these power producing thermal hydel plants. You take power from there, it travels as 220, 110 kV large towers, and then maybe in Bangalore you have 4 stations which convert 220 kVA into 33 kVA, and you distribute the load. Industrial users consume it at 33 kVA, 12 kVA, the home users will consume at 640, 440 volts, right? And if you see GIS or this type of 300 megawatt are being put in these DC. So this is the capability of the future DCs which are going to have. Naturally, no one customer can consume it. The difference here that you get is once again that downtime. So when you look at these high tension wires or high tension, you have multiple grids converging. Generally, every state has a generating unit, and generally every state is connected to a central grid. So when data center facilities have these GISs put in place, you have more than 2 grid lines coming, which means just like 𝗏𝗏𝗏, just like hospitals, till the grid does not fail, both, there is not a blackout, your IT does not fail. And hence and therefore, now on top of that, you could run those AI engines, chatbots, voice assistants, which are always available because the underlying power is available. This is the only change that's happening. From transformers, it is scaling up to a level where it is directly connecting to multi-sources so that you have lesser and lesser downtime. The second thing is, of course, green, green, green. Everybody is in India is, I mean, why India? Not maybe Europe, not maybe US. We enjoy sunshine of 330 days. And we have a lot of wasteland. It is estimated that if we use only 8% of our non-cultivable waste, classified wasteland, we can meet our power requirement for next 25 years. Yes, we are less of money, we can't invest so much of solar, but the renewables give us a chance to now offset the cost. So think a large DC which is directly connected to a grid. Now maybe you go to some Rajasthan place, some Kutch place, put a large solar plant, hook it up to the power grid or any distribution line, you can bring it back to the DC. In effect, what you are doing? A, of course, reduce cost. We leave that. That's standard India. We don't do anything without reducing cost. But on the other side, it has a profound effect on your carbon credits. So let's say the DC uses 100 megawatt of energy. And let us say the sunlight is only for 6 hours. If we put a 400 megawatt plant and we supply 400 megawatt to the grid, then whatever we are consuming in 24 hours is carbon neutral. And that's the power that is driving it. So not only is this a sustainable model, of course in futures battery will come, energy storages will come, and we'll be able to stretch these renewable energies for 24 hours. But even in the sunshine hours, you can compensate for your carbon consumption and thereby start on the path of sustainability. What are the other things that are the challenges? So uptime I have talked about. The second problem that is happening is the capacity utilization. So when you have very large server sprawls, or you have very large, cities also. You have few congested localities, you have few sparsely populated localities. The workloads in today's CPU designs cannot be uniformly transported across. However, with the advent of AIs, with the advent of newer GPUs which can analyze that, and maybe micro automation may lead to further distribution of these workloads. But from an investment perspective also, even after using virtualization, we have gone from 8% to on an average 23% of CPU utilization. We haven't reached that initial virtualization dream of 60% usage, and I am talking about my samples taken across 22,000 racks. I haven't seen on an average anybody crossing 25%. So still that capacity that we are investing in has got huge amount of ineffective systems running, for which we are paying, we are consuming, we are not able to utilize. Next is people productivity. Something was touch based on certifications. For me, people productivity is about UX, user experience. Why is Microsoft so successful? Because it's intuitive. When you use any Windows or Microsoft applications or O365, you click and automatically, intuitively what you want next, you get it. Such type of intuitiveness is not there in allied core applications. Let's take any example. Let's take a SAP example. They will talk about transport, some screen, some approvals. It's not very intuitive. Yes, of course, now with latest releases, they are coming out with a UI which is intuitive. We go to any other hospital applications, we go to any research applications, all of them are sort of obstructive in flow. And that is also what is leading to lesser adoption of these voice assistants. Because as you train those engines to respond on your behalf using an Autobot, the training is taking a huge amount of effort. So we feel the people productivity would increase as this intelligence of human behavior, his default response starts to sink into the applications, because after applications are SaaSified, it's no longer a proprietary system. Everybody can create a login, everybody can experience it. For example, let's talk about clouds. Everybody can go to Azure, Amazon and GCP, go there and see whether I can run it or not. So the user experience now starts to become standardized, because if Google loses somebody to AWS, when they do their strategic meetings, they will say, oh yeah, fine, we are taking more time. And you can find this in mobile phone apps. If you look at the lending platforms in mobile phone apps, or if you look at for money transfer engaging you, the rule is 5 clicks. Somehow within 5 clicks, they have to get you to the level where we used to open so long forms, KYC forms still there, if we go to SBI and all, and we fill up 200 lines. So this is why it has happened, because a Paytm is equal to GPay is equal to anything, because they only allow you to transfer money on the phone. So as it becomes utility, as more consumerization comes in, there also a standardization which comes in. So that's the next trend we feel that will help people productivity. Finally, reducing risk. Now risk is a myriad subject. Just to give an example, our PMs and presidents may enjoy a Z+ security, but when they were children, infants, they enjoyed a much more secure environment. So the risk is in the eyes of the beholder. Now, a child may be very precious to me. I will always keep him beside me. A child may not be so precious to me, so I may say, let me expose him to the world. And we only send our children after the infant to a school. We only tell him, boss, your numbers are less. Then like my children, as they grow up, we start to have expectancy. Okay guys, when are you bringing money home? It's the same child 22 years back on whose single cry we could wake up whole night. And within this 22 years of transformation, as we started to evidence in his age group more and more children, consumerization of children, I would say, that's the feeling that is it. So similarly, as this data moves out into consumerized platforms, the risk is universal. A risk in aircraft travel is universal. A risk in train travel or any public sector is universal. It's no longer calibrated as a differential. Yeah, you may have minute differences. I may travel by business class, have a larger insurance and all, but the risk to my life in an aircraft is as good as anybody sitting there. And we believe that this continuous community monitoring, not individual monitoring, as verticals move on and use these consumerized services, their continuous monitoring is going to enhance the robustness of this platform. That's our outlook out there. I won't go into the details of this, but essentially this is something that we are trying to do for this large sprawls of racks, something utilizing less power, more power, cooling, etc. But such solutions are in. You also have solutions in where you can connect at a above SCADA. So SCADA has now become IoT. So this is a use case of IoT. I can connect to any of my data centers, start up any DG set sitting in any location. I am no longer dependent on a SCADA operator or a DG operator running around there and doing something. We have also started to use in IoTs, you find JSONs and references of Niagara and all. So even these small IoT platforms that we get, people have started to use or advertise in their products, some things like this. So it's becoming universal as IoT comes in. So I wanted to actually go to a use case. I don't know whether I have kept it. Sorry, I have to run through. Yeah, this is the use case. Very simple. A use case why largest of the companies do a co-location. So look at it. We have from the manufacturer, we have high tension wires which land onto our GIS or substations. We have power losses of 5%. Then when your electrical distribution puts in a transform of 33 kVA, it is actually 22%, but I have put 17% only. So you lose 22% by the time you start to consume it even at 33 kV. If you are consuming it at 11 kV, you will end up at 28% losses. So the amount of energy which is spent in generating 100 units, if you are using at 11 kV substations, you are getting 72 rupees worth. Now think of these large DCs which are equipped, they also will sustain 5% losses. But because it's an internal 110 kV, which is directly converting into 640 VA, integrated systems, you have only 2% losses. Today, renewables, we are forced by government. Once again, you have to understand the government piece here. We are forced by the government to have renewable contract for 30% of our consumption. So which means when you land into these DCs, already 30% of your power is carbon free. Lastly, when you compare this, the TCO. So in a normal, let's say I have a building, I have a whatever, I am sitting in some building, I have converted it into a DC. Generally, you will have a PUE of 3 because they are not custom designed. The buildings are designed for humans. More sunlight, more air, we require freshness. The buildings of DC are designed for stale air. No change, so no copper, no nitrous, no acid, right? So the difference if you see here is in consumption of power. The same customer going into any large DC campus, using a large GI substation, having a renewable contract is not only cheaper, but is also sustainable, and combine this maybe with a contract to purchase power, 3x, 4x. And he can claim carbon neutral. So when we hear the likes of Google's, the likes of Azure's saying we are carbon neutral, every Indian company can also be carbon neutral. One is, of course, you can use them and say, I use Google, he is carbon neutral. The second is, you could also reside in one of these DCs, large DCs, and reach the goal. The second is, this hybrid cloud is dependent on the latency I was talking about, right? And here again, once again, the government of India in the last 5 years has been putting a lot of fiber. One is they are connecting every village to a fiber strand. And second is in our highways. Now if you see this diagram, this is Mumbai-Chennai connectivity. All this is highways, NHAI. So there is an organization MORTH which is set up that along the highways, all national highways, they are rolling out fiber. And people like me, people like you, people like telco can use it. So suddenly maybe in Raichur, a 100 gig circuit is a feasibility. We are no longer captured to the so-called, if you see in this diagram, Solapur seems to be much better than Hyderabad. It is more redundantly connected, right? So this is how the tier 2, tier 3 cities will come up. And just see the latency, I mean. Mumbai controllers, Hyderabad controllers, 6 millisecond latency, sir. At 2 milliseconds, we even do storage replication. 30 ms is what I could achieve always in my MPLS circuits, right? A 6 ms is a dream come true across cities. I could run active DCs, DC1 there, DC2 there, and do a failover between them, right? So this is all getting invested not by us, but this is what makes your hybrid possible. Within a city, you will be at 2 ms distance. So let's say between me and NetMagic, L1 circuit DWDM will give you hardly, or you can take an example, DigitalOcean in Bangalore. If you take their droplets, they are there with us, they are there with NetMagic. If you change the availability zone, it won't take you more than 3 ms. They are on a 200 gig circuit. L1, pure L1, the earlier TDM circuit, no IP circuits and all, no switches, routers. So this is what is propelling the hybrid scenario. Now, if I end up having a DC in Hyderabad some corner, and I am not hooked up to this ecosystem, then by the time through the telco switching I come, I am already at 24 or 30 ms with 2 times protocol conversion. Then I can't leverage hybrid. So those people who are developing in hybrid should also look at the latencies of whatever multi-cloud that you are selecting. Maybe it's a private cloud and Azure, or maybe AWS, Azure, GCP combination, but this is what is driving that hybrid market. Yes, madam. So this is how we are also trying to move along with the government. Wherever they are coming up, we are, if it is small, we are calling it as edge. If it is large, we are calling it as an hyperscale. Finally, and we come to the use case of infrastructure as a code. This is something that we were forced to adopt. It is nothing. It is Jira, Git, Ansible, Terraform. Only thing like Azure, Amazon, we just need to learn it. But the power is multifold. Power is, if you see here, I have called it as first segment as shop, second segment as Ansible or Puppet Chef, whatever you want to call it as, and third segment as our ITSM2. It's nothing that we have to do. If I want to bring the experience of on-click provisioning, on-click monitoring to my own servers, we need to expand our teams on the left-hand side. The same Cisco's, the same HPs, the same Red Hat, the same Oracle give us Ansible scripts, they give us Puppet scripts, they give us everything. Just like basic scripting, we just need to understand the logic on what to connect, and what are the variables to feed. Maybe an IP address, maybe a username, whatever you have to feed, it's very simple. However, when you look at it, it looks different. So when you come to my sister company, 𝗬𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗏, we would tell you that we have automated all this. And if you look at the first part, which is nothing based or simple Terraform or any platform, and maybe running some ELK or Elasticsearch, we call it as shop. This is what we present to you as a product. But if you go back, this is only what you have to increase the knowledge in your teams. That guys, these are our OEMs. Just like we get training, we get knowledge transfer from them. Talk to your OEMs and say, boss, I want to have in my ITSM infrastructure as a code and auto infrastructure management capability. What's your readiness? Please do not talk to me about your tools. Then they'll come up with, boss, how do I deliver? Do I have Puppet scripts, Chef scripts, Ansible scripts? So this is the delivery engine, which connects to the device and configures. Once you have defined what's your delivery engine based on your people understanding as well as the OEM supporting, you come back, you put up any open source starting from Terraform, and you could have as good platform as anyone offers. That's all, sir. So this is the presentation I had.